Welcome to Neuroscience. I'm Ash. Let's be clear. The corporate world is flooded with empty words. Mission, vision, synergy. Phrases that get printed on posters, repeated in meetings, and mean absolutely nothing. They're the business equivalent of saying I'm fine when everything is falling apart. And in this sea of cliches, an idea emerged that feels different. Start with why. It feels good, it sounds inspiring. But here in the real world, especially in tech, we live and die by metrics, A/B tests, sprints, and quarterly earnings. We don't get paid to feel inspired. We get paid to ship code that works. So the question that obsesses me is this: is why a real, sharp tool for building a lasting business? Or is it just the most sophisticated placebo we've invented to endure the monotony of the office? To discuss this, I've brought in someone who has built a global movement around this simple question. His name is Eric Landes, known as the Human Cartographer. His background isn't a business school, but anthropology and an existential crisis. He doesn't see companies, he sees tribes. And he argues that it all comes down to how our brains are wired. Eric, welcome to Neuroscience.
Ash, thank you for that honest introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Honest is the only way I know. Let's go to the origin. Your golden circle idea wasn't born in a boardroom, but from a personal crisis, from losing your own passion. Take me to that moment. What does it feel like to have transformed one of the lowest points in your life into a movement that has inspired millions?
It feels necessary. It wasn't an act of genius. It was an act of survival. Around 2005, I had my own company. I did good work. I had clients, but I felt completely empty. The fire was gone. I'd wake up, and the thought of going to work was an enormous weight. I realized I knew what I did, and I knew how I did it well, but I no longer knew why I was doing it. And that is a terrifying feeling. The process of rediscovering my why wasn't academic. It was a personal journey to answer the most basic question: why should I get out of bed? And in finding my answer, which is about inspiring people to do what inspires them, I realized this wasn't just my problem. It was a human problem. Organizations, just like people, can lose their way. The golden circle isn't a business theory, it's a map back home.
Understood. Survival. I respect that. But now let's talk to the CEO who's listening. They're on an investor call. The pressure is brutal. They hear this and think, sounds great, Eric, but I have to deliver this quarter, or we're dead. What do you say to that leader who is trapped between short-term pressure and the long-term desire to build something with purpose?
I tell them it's a false choice. The why is not a luxury you afford when you're successful. It is the engine that generates that success sustainably. Playing the short-term game, competing on price, features, or service alone, is a finite game. There will always be someone cheaper, faster, or with a new feature. It's a race to the bottom. Think of it this way. When you communicate your why, you are activating the limbic system in your customer's or employee's brain. That's the part responsible for trust, loyalty, and decision-making. When you only talk about the what and the how, you're talking to the neocortex, the rational part. People can understand your features, but real loyalty, the kind that makes a customer forgive a mistake or an employee turn down a higher-paying offer, that's limbic. It's emotional. The why isn't an alternative to results. It's the most direct path to the only results that matter, the ones that last.
Okay, the biology is a strong argument, but it can also be exploited. The lines between inspiration and manipulation can get blurry. I see startups with a perfectly crafted why in their pitch deck, but they treat their employees like disposable resources. What's the litmus test for a customer or a talented hire to distinguish an authentic why from sophisticated manipulation?
Authenticity has an infallible test: consistency. Manipulation is an act, a marketing campaign. Inspiration is a culture. And an authentic why isn't just on the About Us page of the website. It shows up in the decisions the company makes when no one is watching. How do they treat the lowest ranking employee? What do they do when they make a mistake with a client? Do they promote people based on numbers or on values? The why is the cause. The how are the actions you take to realize that cause, and the what are the results of those actions. If the how and the what are not consistent with the why, people can feel it. They might not be able to put it into words, but they feel it. They call that feeling inauthenticity. It's a red flag from the limbic brain saying, something doesn't add up here.
Halfway through this conversation, one thing is clear. We're not talking about posters on a wall. We're talking about the fundamental architecture of a business. If this is resonating with you and you want to start applying these principles, I invite you to subscribe to Neuroscience and visit our website, where you'll find resources to start your own excavation. Now, back to the conversation. Eric, let's get specific to the tech sector. Everything is metrics, KPIs, performance. The why can seem soft, intangible. Paradoxically, why do you think this sector, so obsessed with data, is the one that most needs to start with why to attract and retain the talent that truly innovates?
For the same reason the best artists don't paint on commission, but out of a need to express something. The true innovator, the developer or engineer who solves problems no one else can see, isn't motivated by salary or perks alone. They are motivated by a challenge, by being part of something that matters. They want to use their talent to build something meaningful. In technology, the what, the product, changes constantly. The how, the technology, becomes obsolete in years. The only constant that can guide a company through those shifts is the why. It's your North Star. Apple is the classic example. Their why isn't to make computers. It's to challenge the status quo and empower the individual. That why allowed them to move from computers to music to phones. Without that why, they'd still just be a computer company. The why is what enables true innovation, not just incremental improvement.
Let's talk about scaling. I've seen founders with an incredibly clear why. They are the flame. But the company grows to 500, 1,000 people. And that flame gets diluted. You call it the split. For a software startup that's scaling fast, what is the first and most crucial action its leader must take so the why doesn't die on the road to success?
The most crucial action is to stop being the only megaphone for the why. The founder must become obsessed with one thing: hiring and promoting people who embody the why. The how can be taught. Technical skills can be learned. But the belief in the cause, that has to be there. The leader's job in a growth phase isn't to have all the answers. It's to ensure that every new person who joins the tribe is a carrier of the culture. The why doesn't scale on a spreadsheet. It scales through people. And the first test is the hiring process. You have to ask less about what they've done and more about why they did it.
That brings me to the individual. What about the developer, the product manager, who isn't the founder? How can they find and live their own why within a larger organization, especially if the company itself doesn't have a clear one? Are they doomed to be mercenaries?
No one is doomed. The first step is an act of introspection. Discover your own personal why. What drives you? What inspires you? Once you have clarity on your own purpose, you can see your job in one of two ways. You either find a way for your current job to serve your why, seeking out projects and roles that align, or you realize you're in the wrong place. And that is a powerful realization. It's not about finding the perfect job. It's about finding the place where you can be the most authentic version of yourself. Sometimes, leading from the middle, by living your why with your direct team, can start to change the culture from the bottom up. Inspiration is contagious.
This is where the rubber meets the road. You talk about how people don't buy what you do, but why you do it. But trust, as you've said, is earned with a competent what and a consistent how. I've seen companies with an amazing why that deliver terrible products. How do you balance the inspiration of the why with the hard, disciplined test of long-term execution?
Leans in, his tone becoming even more focused. This is the most important point, Ash. The why without the how and the what is a fantasy. It's an empty speech. The order is crucial for a reason. The why gives you direction. The how defines your systems and your culture. And the what is the tangible proof that you believe what you say. Trust isn't born from the declaration of the why. Trust is born when your product, your service, your behavior, everything you do, the what, is living. If your why is quality, your product cannot fail. If your why is simplicity, your interface cannot be confusing. The golden circle is not a choice between why or what. It is a discipline to ensure that everything you do proves what you believe.
Discipline, not magic. I get it. For those listening who now feel lost, how do they start? Finding my why sounds overwhelming. Is it a lightning bolt of inspiration, or is it archaeology? What practical advice can you give them to start that dig today?
It is 100% archaeology, not invention. Your why is already in you. It comes from your past, from the experiences that shaped you. The practical exercise is simple, but it is not easy. Call a friend, someone who knows you well, and tell them stories. Stories from your life, professional or personal, where you felt incredibly proud, inspired, at your absolute best. Your friend's job is not to judge, only to listen. And after each story, they should ask, what was it about that experience that made you feel that way? What you'll discover is that there is a common thread, a recurring theme. That is the essence of your why. It's not a perfect marketing tagline. It's a feeling, a contribution, an impact. That's your starting point.
A final question about the future. With the rise of AI and automation that could take over much of the what and the how, has your message about human purpose at work become more urgent?
More than ever. AI is brilliant at the what and the how. It can optimize, execute, and produce at a superhuman scale. But AI has no beliefs. It has no purpose. It cannot inspire trust or loyalty. As technology takes over the tasks, our value as humans shifts definitively to the why. Our ability to lead, to inspire, to create culture, to make value-based decisions, that is what's left for us. In a world full of artificial intelligence, humanity is not a bug. It is our only true competitive advantage.
Legacy. If you could see the impact of your work 50 years from now, what result would make you feel that your own why was fulfilled?
If, 50 years from now, the question, what's your why, was as common in a job interview or a strategy meeting as what are your revenue goals, is today. If we manage to make leaders understand that their first and most important responsibility is the well-being and inspiration of their people, then my work will be done. Because companies that start with why are not only more successful, they are better places to be human. And that's all that matters.
Today's conversation leaves me with one inescapable conclusion. For years in the tech sector, we've mistaken complexity for value. We've built incredibly complex tools to measure what we do, while ignoring the simple, brutally fundamental question of why we do it. Eric Landes's idea, stripped of its inspirational veneer, is a diagnostic tool. It's a scalpel. If your company is struggling to differentiate, if your best talent is leaving, if your customers aren't loyal, the problem isn't in your code or your price point. The problem is at your core. So my challenge to you isn't to sit down and write a pretty sentence. It's to have the brutal honesty to ask yourself, why do we exist? And if the answer is to make money, good luck competing against everyone else who thinks the same way. But if you find a real answer, one that passes the consistency test, then you've just built something that no metric can capture, but that everyone can feel. And that, in the end, is the only thing that can't be hacked. I'm Ash. This is Neuroscience.